applications, and also mechanical design of typical towers, and conductors used for 400 kV, 220 kV, and 132 kV operations. And if it is time permits, then we will solve the numerical problems 1 or 2. Okay. So upon completion of this lecture, you can explain the necessity of stringing chart and SAG template in the design of overhead transmission line. Also, you can study the different types of towers used in the transmission lines and the conductors used for 132 kV, 220 kV, and 400 kV operation. Right. So let us recall some of the important points which we were already discussed in the previous lecture. So which are sag and tension. So you know that sag is the distance between the lowest point on the conductor and the supporting. Okay. So lowest point on the conductor from here to at the support where the conductor has been supported. So the distance between these 2 points. So these two, it is called the sag, and span is the distance between the 2 towers, and clearance is the distance between lowest point on the conductor and ground. Okay. And we will also discuss about the tension. So tension at any point on the conductor acts tangentially, and the horizontal component of tension is always constant throughout the length of the wire. Okay. So tension is nothing but some form of force on the conductor. Okay. So it will always act tangentially like this. Okay. So tension will always act tangentially, and the horizontal component. These horizontal, these are the horizontal components. Okay. At the supporting structure also, horizontal component of tensions on the conductor is always constant if you take at any point. If you take at this point or at the support or at this point, so at any point on the conductor, horizontal component of tension is constant. Okay. Right. Now we were also discussed about the sag calculation with level support and unequal supports, right? So when the supports are at equal levels, so that means supports A and B are at the same levels, then the center of the conductor will be at the midpoint of the span. Okay. So now by considering a point P here on the conductor, so we were calculated the sag. Okay. So that sag at point P, if you take, then this will be the formula: y is equal to Wx squared by 2t. And if this P is going to the support at this point, right? This P is moved up to the point B. So now here, so the y will become S and X will become L by 2. Okay. So if you substitute X is equal to L by 2, Y is equal to S. So that sag for overhead transmission line, when the supports are at equal levels, will be equal to WL square by 2T. You have to remember this formula. Okay. Sag is equal to WL square by 8T for the towers which are at equal levels. Okay. When the supports are not at equal levels, then there will be 2 sags will be there, which are S1 and S2. So the values of S1 and S2 are S1 is Wx1 square by 2t and S2 is Wx2 square by 2t. So what is this X1? X1 is the distance from lowest point on the conductor to this supportive structure A. That support A, right? X2 is the distance between lowest point on the conductor to support B. Okay. So now these X1 and X2 values will be finally calculated as by using this equation. The derivation for these we were already explained in the previous class. So I'm taking the only important equations. Okay. X1 is equal to L by 2 minus TH by WL. X2 is equal to L by 2 plus TH by WL. Okay. So by using this, you can calculate the X1 and X2. And from the diagram, X1 plus X2 is nothing but L. Okay. So now after knowing X1 and X2, so if you substitute this X1 into this value and if the X2 into this S2, you will get the sag S1 and S2. Okay, right. So we were also discussed about the ice coating also, effect of ice and wind loading on the conductor weight. Okay, so right, this wind force is always acts horizontally, right? So it will be represented like this, horizontally. So which is represented with the WW, weight of the wind. Okay, and ice coating and weight of the conductor. So this is the conductor, actual conductor. So this weight of the conductor will always act downwards. Similarly, ice coating, if there is ice coating on the conductor, that ice weight also vertically downwards. So this is the weight of the conductor and this is the weight of the ice. So some of these two will act vertically downwards. So in the vector diagram, we were represented like this. So if you consider total conductor weight, ice loading and the effect of wind, so then the total weight of the conductor is the sum of this plus vector sum of this plus this, which is WT. So right, from this rectangle triangle, WT is equal to underscore it W plus WI whole square plus WW whole square. Okay, this is the total weight of the conductor when you consider the effect of wind and ice coating also. Okay, along with the weight of the conductor. So then for this case, sag will be, the formula for calculating sag is S is equal to WT L square by 2T. Okay, so this sag is a slant sag. Okay, why this is called slant sag? So here, if you observe, if you take all the wind, ice coating, and weight of the conductor into consideration, so then, so the weight of the conductor, total weight will be in this way. So that means it is making an angle of theta to the vertical, right? This is the slant weight. The weight is in this direction, not in vertical direction, right? So this total weight is making at an angle theta to the vertical. So when you take this weight, so then if you calculate the sag, that sag is called the slant sag. Okay. So now if you want to calculate the vertical sag means you have to consider this vertical direction. So now this will become S into cos theta. Okay. So vertical sag is equal to S into cos theta. So here in this direction you can calculate the slant sag S. So now if it is yes, this will be the S into cos theta. Okay. Up to this we were already discussed in the previous lecture. So I just recall to you. Right. So now today's lecture is about stringing chart and sag template. So let us discuss about the stringing chart. What is stringing chart? Stringing chart is nothing but it is a graph which is drawn between temperature versus tension as well as temperature versus sag, both. Okay. You have to draw a graph. So between temperature will be taken on the x-axis and tension or sag. First you take tension. So then so this is the temperature and this is tension. Okay, tension on y-axis, temperature on x-axis if you take. So now as the temperature increases, what happens to the tension? So what happens to the tension? So anyone respond in chat box. Suppose if you increase the temperature, whether tension decreases or increases. So your conductor is supported between two towers like this. This is your conductor. Okay. Now from here to lowest point on the conductor is sag. This is sag. Okay. So tension is nothing but that stretching force between the two towers. Okay. Stretching force. Suppose if you increase the temperature, what happens to the conductor? The conductor like this. So the conductor will expand when the temperature is increased. So the conductor will come downside to the actual value. So then in such a case, that the tension on the conductor will be very low. So now if the conductor is like this in a straight line, that means if your conductor is stretched between the two supports tightly, so then you will be having maximum tension. Okay, as the temperature is increasing, this conductor will expand. So when your conductor is expanding means sag will increases and tension will decreases. So tension will be decreasing as you are moving, as you are increasing the temperature. So this is the tension curve. So now on the same graph, you have to take sag as a sag also on y-axis. So then you have to draw the sag versus temperature curve. Okay. So now when you increase the temperature, the conductor will expand and sag will increase. So the sag will be increasing as the temperature is increasing. So this is sag. Okay. So this graph is called the stringing chart. Okay. So stringing chart is nothing but it is a graph which is drawn between temperature and tension as well as temperature and sag. Okay. So right, where this stringing charts will be useful. So while erecting the transmission line conductors, then you have to adjust the sag and tension in such a way that the conductor should be always what you can say, it can withstand for worst conditions. Okay, so you know that sag and tension are inversely proportional. You have to make some compromise between sag and tension, right? So from this stringing chart, you can know the how much sag you can keep for a particular temperature. Suppose if you are erecting the transmission line, so in some place you may be having some maximum temperature. Okay, so from the data you can know that so what is the maximum temperature that can be attained on that particular place. So by considering that maximum temperature, you will adjust the sag and tension. Okay, right. So this is also used in the design of insulator string as well as design of tower also. Okay, these are the applications of stringing chart. Stringing chart mainly used for adjusting the sag and tension while erecting the transmission line conductors or towers. Okay, is it clear, ma'am? Right. So the next one is the sag template. Okay, so what is this sag template? So why where it is used? Okay, so sag template is a convenient way of locating the towers in the field. Okay, so sag template is used for locating the towers in the field, and it is drawn on a transparent paper which consists of set of curves. So the horizontal and vertical distances represent the span length and sag respectively. You know that, right? Horizontal distance between the two towers will be span length and vertical distance is sag. You know that. So generally this sag template is used for locating the towers where you have to place the towers. Suppose if you want to expand one of the transmission line, okay, let us say you are having one transmission line and you want to expand that transmission line to some more distance. Okay, so now if you want to expand the transmission line in some more distance, first what you have to do, you have to first in what way you have to construct the tower, you have to decide. So that means profile, way of profile you have to decide first. Okay, so suppose let us assume that your profile will be like this. This is okay. So you are having already one transmission line up to this point, and now you are going to expand this transmission line to some more distance. So that means you have to do some survey on the survey, so that in which way you have to construct the transmission line. So by using the survey, you can get the survey profile. So that profile is this one. Okay, that means this will be the, suppose you can say like this also. Okay, on the profile where you have to construct the towers. After selecting the profile, you have to select the towers. Okay, you have to construct the towers on this profile. Okay, so where at what distance or how much height the tower should be, how you can know, right? This can be known from the SAG template. Okay, SAG template will decide where to locate the towers in the field. Okay, this is the purpose of this SAG template. So now generally this SAG template will be drawn by the engineers on a transparent cover, a transparent paper. Okay, so transparent paper will be used for drawing this SAG template, and this SAG template mainly consists of 3 curves. Okay, so which are the conductor line curve, or you can also say that conductor curve, and clearance curve or clearance line, and tower footing line. Okay, SAG template will be drawn on a transparent paper by taking the proper scale. Okay, proper scale. By taking the proper scale, you have to first draw the 3 curves, which are conductor line, clearance line, and tower footing line on a transparent paper. Okay, so right, how you can draw this conductor line, clearance line, and tower footing line. Okay, first you have to draw this conductor line. Okay, so this conductor line, it can be obtained by plotting the sag at maximum temperature against the span length. Okay, so suppose your profile is from here to here, so then this is the total span length if you assume. Now by taking this span length, you have to plot the sag at maximum temperature. Okay, so then that curve is called the conductor line curve or conductor curve. So this curve is also called as hot curve. Why? Because you are drawing this curve at the maximum temperature. Okay, this conductor line is drawn at maximum temperature. So this curve is also called as hot curve. Okay, after drawing this first curve, which is conductor line curve, after drawing this, so then you have to draw the clearance line or clearance curve. Okay, so clearance curve is the middle curve, right? It will be drawn exactly parallel to the conductor line. Okay, it will be drawn parallel to the conductor line, and the vertical distance between this conductor line and your clearance line will be equal to it will be equal to minimum clearance of the power conductor and ground. Okay, so the vertical distance, so actually this clearance line will be drawn exactly in parallel to the conductor line. Okay, and the the vertical distance between these two will be equal to minimum clearance of the power conductor and ground. How you know this? What is the minimum clearance of the power conductor and ground? So this minimum clearance of the power conductor and ground will depends upon the operating voltage. Okay, and this operating voltage will be decided by the Indian electricity rules. Okay, or state electricity rules. Okay, suppose you see in the next diagram. So this is the minimum clearance to the ground for overhead transmission line. So for different operating voltages, right? Suppose if your voltage is less than 650 volts, then minimum height will be 5.8. Okay, minimum clearance will be 5.8. If your voltage is 320 volts AC, so then it is 5.2. Okay, so if your voltage is if your voltage is 66 kV, this will be the 6.0, and between 66 kV to 110 kV, it is 6.3. 110 kV to 165, it is 6.6. If you are exceeding 165 kilovolts, then 6.7 meters will be the minimum clearance. Okay. So when it is less than 650 volts, so you may use 5.8 across the public loads, and 5.2 for other positions, and 4.6 for 325 volts. Okay. So these are the minimum clearance that should be kept depending upon your voltage levels. Okay. So now here clearance line will be drawn based upon these values. Okay. So right here. So this minimum conduct clearance line will be exactly parallel to the conductor line and at a vertical distance which is equal to the minimum clearance of the power conductor and ground. That minimum clearance and power minimum clearance of the power conductor and ground will be getting from the operating voltage, which is given by the Indian electricity rules. Okay. So now you have drawn the two curves, first curve, conductor curve and clearance curve. After drawing the two curves, you have to draw the last curve, which is the tower footing line curve. Okay, you have to draw tower footing line curve. So this is also exactly parallel to the clearance line. Okay, so you have to draw the exactly parallel to the clearance line, and this curve will be drawn in such a way that this line gives the location of the footing of the tower. Okay. Right. So now from this curve, you will know that so where the towers has to be built. Right here. So now this curve is touching. So this tower footing line is touching your profile at this point. So you have to place the tower at this place. Okay. So now tower footing line will be touching at this point. So you have to place the tower at this place. Okay. So wherever this tower footing line is touching this your profile. So now such place you have to construct the tower. Okay. So this is your tower, and this tower will be having a minimum clearance, and the conductor will be supported at this point. So now here, if you so at what height you have to place the conductor. So now if you build a tower such that this will be the intersection point of your conductor line. Okay, at this point. Right, understood? Okay, this is about the SAG template. So this SAG template will be helpful in locating the towers in the field. Okay, this SAG template generally have three curves, which are conductor line, clearance line, tower footing line. First, conductor line will be drawn against the span length for maximum temperature, right? And by calculating this SAG at maximum temperature. Sorry. Okay, conductor line will be drawn against the span length and SAG at the maximum temperature. Okay, and clearance line will be exactly parallel to the conductor line, and it will be having a vertical distance which is equal to the minimum clearance. That minimum clearance depends upon the operating voltage, and that operating voltage will be decided by the Indian electricity rules. Okay, and then you have to draw the tower footing tower exactly below the clearance line. Okay. So now wherever the tower footing curve tower footing line will touching the your profile, so there you have to construct the towers. Okay, this is about SAG template. Right, how you can design the transmission line tower. Okay, so while designing the transmission line tower, you have to keep some you have to keep some of the important points. Okay, the factors which are governing the height of the tower, so will be minimum permissible ground clearance. Okay, minimum, what is the minimum permissible ground clearance? So that you have to take it, let it be, call it as H1. Okay, so minimum clearance should be there between the ground and your conductor. So let it be H1. Okay, then you should have the maximum SAG. Okay, so what is the maximum SAG that can be allowed? SAG is nothing but lowest distance between lowest point on the conductor and the tower support. Okay, so this distance is called the SAG. So but during summer seasons, the conductor will expand. So the conductor, when a conductor is expanding, means it will be coming like this. Now SAG will increases. So now what is the maximum SAG that can be allowed? That will be H2. Okay, H2 you have to decide. So then vertical spacing between the conductors. Suppose you are having 3 conductors in a 3-phase transmission line, you will be having 3 conductors. So then what is the gap between or distance between the 2 conductors you have to keep? Suppose if it is R phase and it is B phase, so what is the minimum distance that should be kept between these 2 phases? Then if you are having Y phase, what is the distance between this B and Y phase? Okay, so you have to keep some spacing between the conductors. So that spacing between the conductors, let it be represented with H3. Okay, so then vertical clearance between the ground wire and top of the conductor. Okay, so you'll be having one ground wire will be there at the top of the tower. So now between the ground and your top conductor, what is the height you have to place? So you cannot place this ground conductor very near to this line conductor. So there should be some gap between this ground conductor and your top conductor. Okay, so let it be called it as H4. Okay, so now the total height of the tower is sum of all these four, right? So now if you observe in the diagram, you are having a three conductors like this here. Okay, so first you have to take the ground clearance. How much clearance you must keep for the transmission line conductor, right? So minimum permissible ground clearance is this is H1. Up to this you can build, right? After that, what is the maximum sag that can be allowed? That will be H2, right? That means your conductor can be can have up to this point. Okay, can come up to this point. It should not come below this point. Okay, so the minimum clearance is this one. Okay, minimum clearance mark, not the total, not the exact clearance. Okay, your conductor can come up to this point. Okay, so generally it will be like this. Okay, so depending upon the temperature, that sag may decreases, or depending upon the wind force also sag will increases. Okay, so maximum sag that can be allowed is this H2 distance. Okay, so now then the vertical spacing between the conductors, so it will be represented with H3. So then the vertical distance between the top ground conductor, here is you will be having the ground conductor. So this ground conductor will protect from lightning strokes. So then what is the distance between this ground conductor and your top conductor? So that will be H1. So now sum of all these will be the total height of the tower. Okay, this is how you can design the transmission line tower. Okay, right. So then what are the conductors that are used for 400 kV, 220 kV and 132 kV operations? Okay, so you know that while discussing the first chapter, we have discussed the different types of conductors. All aluminum conductor, aluminum standard, aluminum alloy conductor, aluminum conductor steel reinforced, aluminum conductor alloy reinforced. Like that, we have discussed about the different types of conductors. Out of all the types of conductor, ACSR conductor is the most widely used conductors. Okay, so depending upon the voltage level, this ACR conductors are also classified into some ACSR dog, ACSR panther, ACSR zebra, and ACSR twin bundle most. Okay, so suppose if your voltage level is 66 kV, so then in such a case you have to use ACSR conductors. That ACSR conductor is also a stranded conductor, and sometimes you may also use the bundled conductors also. Okay, depending upon the voltage level. Okay, so generally we prefer ACSR conductors at 66 kilovolts. At any voltage you are here you are using ACSR conductors. Okay, so suppose if it is 66 kV, so then dog type you have to use ACSR dog type conductor you have to use. So why dog type means here dog type means that this is a ACSR conductor cable with a nominal aluminum cross sectional area is 100 mm square, and it has the 6 aluminum strands of 4.72 mm diameter and 7 steel strands of 1.57 mm diameter. Okay, so a ACSR dog type conductor will have 6 aluminum strands. Okay, 6 aluminum strands and 7 steel strands, and the diameter of those are represented here. Okay, so these are the standard values now. Okay, these are the standard values, right? This dog type ACSR conductor will have 6 aluminum strands and 7 steel strands. Then if your voltage is increased to 132 kV, you have to use ACSR panther type conductor. So that Panther type conductor will be having 7 strands of teeth, which is having the 3 mm diameter and 30 aluminum strands. Okay, so you know the construction of your conductor, right? In terms of layers, that they will be like this. Okay. Suppose if you are having steel reinforcements on this conductor, you are having another layer, right? On this again you may be having another layers. So like this. So inside, first two layers may be steel conductors and another layers will be aluminum conductors. In such a case, it may be called as ACSR conductor. So now the number of strands for aluminum steel will be 7 for this dog type, and Panther type also it will be 7 only, 7 steel conductors. So but the diameter is different. So here in dog type it is 1.5 mm diameter, here it is 3 mm diameter. And what are the aluminum conductors? Aluminum strands, how many you have to use? In dog type you have to use 6 aluminum strands. In Panther type you have to use 30 aluminum. And also diameter also, here it is 3 mm and here it is 4.73 mm. Okay. So now if it is 220 kilovolts, you have to use ACSR Zebra conductor. So that ACSR Zebra conductor will be having 54 aluminum strands, which is having 3.18 mm diameter, and 7 steel strands, which is having 3.18 diameter. And if it is 400 kilovolts, so ACSR twin bundle MOS conductor will be used. The twin MOS conductor will be having 54 conductors, 54 aluminum strands, which are having 3.53 mm diameter, and 7 steel strands, which is having 3.53 mm diameter. So now if you observe all these types of conductors, ACSR, dog, Panther, Zebra or MOS, all the conductors will be having 7 steel conductors, but the diameter will be changing here. Okay, and aluminum conductors will be 6 aluminum conductors for dog, and 30 for Panther, and then 54 for Zebra, and 54 for MOS also. Okay, so these are the voltage levels and the type of conductor you have to use. Okay, so here depending upon these type will be when you are changing the type of the conductor, so then the current rating of that conductor also will change. So this is the table for a conductor name and current rating at different temperatures. Okay, if you are having dog type, okay, dog type conductor, it will be having current rating of 320 amperes. Okay, at 40 degrees centigrade, and at 45 degrees centigrade it will be having 300 amperes. Okay, this is ambient temperature now, AMBTMP. So suppose if you take volt, so actually we are not considered this volt. So Panther we are having. So the Panther conductor is having a 520 amperes current capacity at 40 degrees centigrade, and at 45 degrees centigrade it will be 482 amperes. For Zebra it is 795 amperes at 40 degrees and 736 for 45 degrees centigrade. Okay, as the conductor diameter or conductor size is increasing, as you are going increasing the voltage, so your conductor should carry the current also very high. Okay, current carrying capacity of the conductor will also increases as the voltage of the voltage level of the conductor is increasing. Okay, so MOS conductor will be having 900 amperes at 40 degree centigrade. This is the maximum current carrying capacity of MOS conductor at 40 degree centigrade, and at 45 degree centigrade it is 835 amperes. Right. So now up to this theory content of your second module is completed, and then you have the problems, numerical problems you have. So but before going to the numerical problems, I want to discuss some of the important topics which are not there in your syllabus, but these are useful. Okay, So as already you know about this overhead line supports. Okay, so line support. So overhead line support is nothing but it is a pole or tower or anything. Okay, so between these line supports you will place the conductor. Okay, the supporting structures which are used for overhead line conductors such as various types of poles, towers are called the overhead line supports. Okay, and this overhead line supports will have the following properties. So it should have high mechanical strength to withstand for weight of the conductor as well as wind loads, and it is to have lightweight without loss of mechanical strength. Okay, and it's cheap in cost and economical to maintain. So maintaining cost should be low, and it should have longer life and easy accessibility for conductors for maintenance. Okay, these are the properties of your line supports. Okay, so now if you discuss, if you observe the different types of line support what are used in the field. Okay, supports. These supports may be wooden poles or concrete poles or steel poles or towers. Right? You would have observed these wooden poles in the villages. Okay, in distribution purpose, we will generally use these wooden poles, and these wooden poles will be mainly built in rural areas. Okay, so where so this so the if you observe the figure here, so these are the different configurations of the wooden poles. Okay, so these wooden poles will be generally used for less spans if the span length is very low. So in such a case you can prefer these wooden poles, and these wooden poles will be used only for distribution purpose in rural areas only. Okay, and the life of this wooden poles will be very less, as this is the wood what we are taking for construction. So wood may rot as the age is going on increasing, right? So after it will be having a smaller life, and it cannot be used for higher voltages, so which is more than 20 kilovolts. Also it will be having less mechanical strength, and it requires the periodical inspection of the transmission. So nowadays these wooden poles are generally not used. In olden days we are using these wooden poles. Okay, in these wooden poles will be used up to only 20 kV, and it will be having less life, and it will be used for shorter spans, and that is to distribution purpose in rural areas. Okay, so you may be observing these steel poles, right? So see in figures, the steel poles are there, right? You would have observed in the field these type of poles. Okay, depending upon the construction of the pole, this will be classified as tubular pole, rail pole, RS joint, H beam, like this. Okay, depending upon type of construction, right? So what when you use these steel poles will generally have high mechanical strength when compared to these wooden poles. Okay, so the high mechanical strength will be having, and life of these wooden pole these steel poles also will increase when compared to the wooden poles, and this can be used for longer spans also. Okay, so but these steel poles also used for distribution purpose up to the cities only. Okay, so and these steel poles are need to be galvanized or painted in order to prolong its life, right? So these are the about the steel poles. So then you'll be having concrete poles also, RCC concrete. Okay, I think you would have observed in your villages or cities these concrete poles, right? So these concrete poles will be having higher mechanical strength, and also it will be having longer life, and these also used for longer spans than the steel towers. Okay, and it will be having little maintenance and have good insulating properties. Okay, so these concrete poles will be having high mechanical strength, life will be longer and permit for longer spans, and little maintenance is required. So if you take the steel towers, you have to paint, you have to always galvanize those towers. That means with paint. Okay, so paint you have to always maintain, right? So but it is not required for these concrete poles. Okay, The main difficulty with these, with the use of these poles is the high cost of transportation. Okay, so generally these concrete poles will be having heavy weight. Okay, so transportation is not possible for these concrete poles. Because of this reason, so these concrete poles will be built in the places where you have to construct the tower. Okay, so wherever you want to construct the tower, there itself you will manufacture this concrete pole. Okay, so why? Because this will avoid the cost of the transportation. So these are the different types. And the final one is the steel towers, so which we will also call it as transmission towers. So these steel towers or transmission towers will be used for higher voltages. Okay, very high voltages, and this will be having very much greater mechanical strength, and also it will be having very much a longer life, and they will be withstand for severe climatic conditions, and permits the use of longer spans. Okay, so if the span length is very high, so these can be used. Okay, right. If you observe the main parts of your transmission tower, so you will be having cross arms. So these are the cross arms. Okay, so these cross arms are bolted to your tower body. Okay, so these are called the cross arms. Okay, so what is the use of these cross arms? So these cross arms will be used to allow the conductor, so some conductor at some distance from the tower body. Okay, you should have some gap between your conductor and tower. Okay, so that will be provided by this cross arm. Okay, then you will be having tower body. So this is tower body. Okay, so tower body will be the weight of the tower will be there on the tower body. So you have to design this tower body such that it will withstand for weight of the conductor, insulation, and entire this cross arms. Okay, this should have a high mechanical strength tower body. So then you will be having peak here. Okay, so why this peak? Why this peak? So this peak is used to maintain some distance between your ground conductor and your cross arms or other conductors. Okay, so here generally you will place the ground conductor, right? This peak will make this ground conductor to be at some distance some distance from your conductor, line conductors. Your line conductors will be there here, so it will maintain some distance between ground and your conductor. And this middle part is called the case body, right? So for this case body, your cross arms will be generally bolted here, right? These are the main parts of your transmission tower. Right. So now what are the different types of transmission towers, right? So depending upon the angle of deviation, these types of towers are classified as A type tower, B type tower, C type tower, and D type tower. Okay, so if your angle of deviation is from 0 degrees to 2 degrees, so it is called A type. If it is 2 to 15 degrees, it is called B type, and 15 to 30 it is C type, and 30 to 60 it is D type tower. Okay, so depending upon the angle of deviation, so this is the classifications of towers. Now as per the force applied on the conductor on the cross arms, the transmission towers are again classified as tangent suspension tower and angle tower. Okay, so tangent suspension tower. So tangent suspension tower, with these are generally of A type. Okay, so this tangent suspension tower will be having an angle of deviation of 0 to 2 degrees. And angle towers are, these are also called as tension towers or sometimes section towers. Okay, so these angle towers will be of any of the BCD types. Okay, so that means angle of deviation will be from 2 degrees to 60 degrees. Right. So the types of towers are, so depending upon the mechanical strength again, I was represented here. So these are suspension towers, tension or angle tower, transposition towers. Okay, so what is suspension tower? So suspension tower is nothing but it is a tower where your conductors are supported with the help of your suspension insulators. Okay, so by observing the tower itself, we can say that whether it is suspension tower or tension tower. If it is a tension tower or angle tower, so you will be having your insulators in some angle with the horizontal. Okay, these are the insulators. So the insulator will be placed horizontally with some inclination. So the angle may be vary from 0 to 30 degrees. Okay. So generally these suspension towers will be placed in a straight line. So suppose if your transmission line is like a straight line. Okay, your way of transmission line is a straight line. In such a case, the line towers will be generally of suspension type. Okay, suppose if there is a bend in your transmission way, right, like this, if there is a bend, in such a case, at the both ends you have to use the angle towers. Okay, so the angle towers will be used. Okay, then where these transposition towers will be used? So you know that when a transmission line is unsymmetrical, this transposition will be used. Okay, so right. So to make suppose if you are having one transmission line, three-phase transmission which is unsymmetrical. So now to make it symmetrical or to then you will use the transposition. The transposition, what is this transposition? Right. So for the entire length of the transmission line, you will divide them into 3 sections, and each section you are having all the conductors. Suppose if it is position 1, position 2, position 3 of conductor A, conductor B, conductor C, then all the conductors will occupy the each and every position of the other conductors. That means in first section, if it is in position A, position B, and sorry, A is in position 1, B is in position 2, C is in position 3. So then in second section it will be A will come under second position, then it will come under third position in section 3. So like this, you can the other conductor will also be there. It will take 2 and then sorry first 3 then 2. So here 1 then 2, like this will be. So transposition, you know what is transposition, right? So now here in this place you will use this transposition term. Okay, so while making these transition from position 1 to position 2, here will be the transmission time, here also on the transmission time. Okay, so this is about the transmission tower. So now depending upon the number of circuits used, you will be having single circuit tower, but double circuit tower and multi circuit tower. Okay, so one single circuit tower will be having generally only one set of 3-phase lines. Double circuit will be having 2 sets of 3-phase lines, and multi circuit will be having more than that, 3 circuits or 4 circuits, like that. Okay, depending upon the number of circuits, they are called as single circuit tower, double circuit tower, and multi circuit towers. So there are some special towers also there. Gate B type tower, right? This is the construction of tower. If you see in figure, so this is the construction, right? So this will be used for 230 to 735 kilovolts, and it is mainly used for the power lines, leaving the this Lagrange and Manifold complexes. Okay. So this tower is more economical when compared to the double circuit or waste type towers. Okay. Now another type of tower is this gate cross rope suspension tower, right? This will be used for a voltage which is about 735 kilovolts, right? And this type of structure requires the less galvanized steel than the previous tower, which is grade V type tower, so making it lighter and less cost. Okay, you just you will not get these in exams. You just see what are the different types of towers here. Okay, this is one type, this is another type, and okay, one type of tower I think is this. Okay, no problem. Right. So another one is stay set. Right. What is this stay set? What is the purpose of this stay set? So now, if you observe the poles in your villages, you would have observed this iron rod between your support and ground, right? So this is called the stay set. Okay, so this is the stay set. So the purpose of this stay set in distribution line is to balance the forces of the line in different direction. Okay, this stay set will balance the forces which are developed due to wind pressure or anything, right? It will balance the forces and make the tower to stand at some position. Okay, and this will be generally placed at the first pole at end line. Okay, suitable stay sets are provided at the first pole and as well as at the line end. Suppose if you are having a transmission line, and suppose if you are placing one pole here, right? For the first pole, you will be having this stay set. At the same time, line end, if you are having another support or pole, then you here also you will be having one stay set. Okay, and this are suppose if you are having in a straight line way. So if you are going to build these poles in a straight line way, so then also for every 5 towers, for every 5th tower, you will use this stay set here like this. Okay, so this stay set main purpose is to balance the forces in different directions. Okay, so now between this tower and ground, as you are using this stay set, right, there may be a chance of current flow here. So to make the current not to flow through this status, you will use the stay insulator. So stay insulator is a very small insulator which is in between the ground and your support at this point. Okay, so this stay insulator will make the currents, leakage currents should not flow through from tower to your ground. Okay,